Hello, this is Dr. Terrence Baker coming to you from the studios of NABN TV. I'll be your host, Doctors in the House. Today we're going to discuss a very disturbing phenomena that's occurring around the world. As we open up the world and bring the pandemic towards an end and reduce the regulations that have been imposed upon us as we reopen the nations, a very interesting phenomena is being observed. That is social disengagement and bizarre behavior. These behaviors are being seen around the world, manifested in many different ways. As individuals come out of their homes and begin returning to work, as they come out and begin to relate and socialize with one another, it is becoming obvious that we as humanity, we as a society around the world, have lost some of our abilities to relate to one another. There's feelings that the rules of social obedience don't apply to us. The laws of our nations and our states don't any longer apply to us. The law doesn't matter. We find ourselves above the law, and some patients claim that all bets are off. Now, it appears that this phenomena of bizarre behavior and social disobedience is coming from a number of avenues. Number one is during the COVID-19 manifestation, during the pandemic, psychiatric care reached an all-time low. Alcoholism and alcohol use dramatically increased around the world. Drug use, both opioids, fentanyl, and other substances like marijuana, also increased in the United States and around the world. So we had a significant increase in substance abuse, and we had a remarkable decrease in the availability of social services, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and organizations like the church to help us to deal with behavior and behavior problems. We're seeing manifestation of bizarre behavior, disruptive behavior manifested in a number of ways. Number one is that car accidents have tremendously increased. That is, the number of high-speed, reckless driving car accidents has increased to over 7% in the United States in a very short period of time. We're also seeing increased car versus pedestrians. That is, pedestrians being run down, hit and run over. We're seeing increasing hit and run accidents. We're seeing increased high-speed chases where police are having to chase after high-speed drivers. We're seeing high-speed racing on the highways. We're seeing drag racing at night occurring on our highways across America. So we're seeing seatbelts not being worn. We're seeing children not being placed in car seats. We're seeing children not being placed in rear-facing car seats if they're under the age of 2 and under the weight of 40. So many manifestations of how we drive and how we protect ourselves and our families when we're in the vehicle. Next is we're seeing an increase in motorists striking bicycles and striking pedestrians at high speeds, often hit and run. We're also seeing a number of problems with increased shootings where as we come out, it seems that our tolerance for one another, our ability to get along, our ability to relate, our ability to talk to one another has been impaired by our social distancing and our lockdowns and our closures. Our abilities to relate has decreased, our ability to communicate without violence has been impaired. And so the number of shootings is going up not only in the United States but around the world. Also, we're seeing disruptive behavior of marches and protests and burning and robbing and looting and raping at record highs, not only in the United States but around the world. And it's one thing to have a peaceful protest that follows the laws and regulations. It's something different to burn and rape and loot and cause general destruction of property, loss of life, and damage to other citizens. And so another manifestations are the use of laws and rules and regulations against members of society. In other words, our leadership is using rules and regulation and laws to sometimes act against citizens that are concerned about topics like masking and social distancing and schools not opening. We sometimes see the laws being weaponized against citizens. Again, another bad behavior. As we continue to open, this pattern of bizarre behavior and lawless, reckless behavior can be expected to continue. And it's important for us individually to not participate, not to make these situations worse. We must, as a society, as a humanity, learn to get along with one another again. We must put aside our guns, our knives, our fists, and our violence against one another, and we must learn to communicate and talk and to find common ground one with another and to solve our problems in ways that doesn't result in high frustration, anger, bitterness, and injury to one another. It's important to recognize that this phenomena exists so that as we leave our homes each day and go out into our communities, we can moderate our behavior. We can keep an eye on our own pulse. We can recognize when we're becoming angry and frustrated. We can walk away or we can negotiate and find common ground. But resulting to shootings, brutal attacks, knivings, stabbings, rapings, murders, this type of behavior must end, because the death rate associated with this bizarre behavior, this lawless behavior, will actually exceed the number of deaths that we've seen from COVID if we don't bring it under control at this time. This is Dr. Terrence Baker at NABN TV, Doctors in the House.